Greetings from Rome. I'm Eylül Aşkın. For the mini-series that we prepared to underline the effects of soft power used in cultural diplomacy, our last guest will be former Italian ambassador to Ankara, dear Carlo Marsili. Welcome to our show. Thank you for sparing your time for us.
Great pleasure. Good morning.
I'll have a series of questions. My first question will be, how do you think cultural diplomacy complements traditional forms of diplomacy?
Diplomacy in general, because it brings very often the best of one country to other countries, to other people, etc. For instance, I used cultural diplomacy quite a lot when I was ambassador to Turkey, introducing to the Turkish people the several aspects of the Italian culture. For instance, the theater, the cinema, music, opera, and then other aspects of culture which are important as well. For instance, cuisine also. So we have several ways of introducing the best of a country to other people, to other countries, and cultural diplomacy is very significant in this framework.
Can you provide examples of cultural diplomacy initiatives that positively impacted diplomacy during your service?
Well, cultural diplomacy gave an enormous impact on my activity because in Turkey, because I found through the Italian Cultural Institute, for instance, and the other cultural institute, which was based in Istanbul and still is there, that we could organize many initiatives which got a great success with the Turkish public. For instance, the Italian opera came to Istanbul several times, also in Ankara, and I managed also to bring the Italian opera to Diyarbakir, which was something absolutely extraordinary for Turkey, because nobody could organize this. I did this in the castle in Diyarbakir, for instance. Then in Diyarbakir, for instance. Then we organized the Italian cuisine weeks in Istanbul, in Ankara, in other places, Gaziantep, for instance, and was successful as well because we could enlarge our activity to the Turkish public outside the big cities, Istanbul, Izmir, and Ankara. But it was important also to use this cultural diplomacy in other places as well. For instance, in Kayseri, we organized several Italian singers went to Kayseri, and we organized something in Kayseri with the President of the Republic of the time, Gül, who is from Kayseri, was there. And we organized that also in Mersin, in Antalya, in Adana, so Antalya, in Adana, so we tried to diversify our activity all over Turkey.
How do you perceive the role of soft power in shaping cultural diplomacy?
Well, soft power is something which is diplomacy because in reality, diplomacy is in some way soft power, because the art of diplomacy is to convince somebody else, not that you are right, but to convince somebody else that it is possible to reach an agreement on the great part of things which are around us. Soft power means to express to other people, to other persons, what you think, but also why you think in that way. Because you come from a certain country, you bring some from that country, the other people is from another countries, but there are many points on which an agreement can be reached. And soft power so is widely used for reaching agreements, for creating better conditions for working together.
Do you think cultural diplomacy provides long-term benefits for international relations? Why or why not?
No, certainly it does, because international relations are very complicated, and we can see also today there are a lot of crises around the world, in Palestine, in Ukraine, in Asia, in Africa, etc. Sometimes this kind of crises are originated by the fact know themselves, don't know exactly what the other think, and they are suspicious, and from suspicion it starts sometimes the struggle between different countries, different people, etc. In the moment on which you bring the attention on cultural values are different, and this is correct in every part of the world. What is important is to discuss about these cultural values between different people, different government, different diplomats, and to understand what is important for the other persons, and to try to reach an agreement. And sometimes you do that. So cultural diplomacy cannot solve all the international crises, but it can help to mitigate a certain number of crises and sometimes to solve them.
What is the role of public opinion and grassroots movements in cultural diplomacy?
Well, the role of the public opinion is very important in many ways, because it is very difficult for a government or for a diplomatic service to act without the support of a public opinion. The country. But I'm sure that sometimes you need also if you are not a democratic country, you need a certain consensus of your public opinion for doing certain kind of things. So the role is very important, absolutely.
How has the rise of global media and social media affected cultural diplomacy?
Well, the influence of global media is certainly quite strong on cultural diplomacy, because whatever you do must be known from as many people as possible. It's very important. If you do something and nobody knows what you're doing, unfortunately, the value of that is very, very low. So the support also the critics sometimes of the media are very important for showing what you are doing as far as the diplomacy is concerned, and this is generally it is very relevant. Not always the media are telling the truth. So this is important. Now it's important for to understand exactly how they work and how they operate as far as your role in the society is concerned. Now we have this social media, which are completely open to the public, open to the discussion, etc. I think they are a good thing. In any case, these are the media of the future. No? Very few people now, unfortunately, read the newspaper or something else, but they always follow the social media. So it's important also what the social media say, and to discern what is true, what is not true, what is correct, what is not correct. It is not easy, but you can do that.
Do you believe that artists can play a significant role in diplomacy and international relations?
Artists?
Artists.
Yes.
Artists, musicians?
Yes, they certainly can help. I remember, for instance, Italy is very famous in the world for the Italian opera. Now, Italian opera is very much appreciated more or less everywhere in the world. I was ambassador also in other countries, not only in Turkey. I remember also in Indonesia, which is a faraway country. But whenever we managed to bring Italian opera singers of a certain level, etc., the success was ensured, and in Turkey as well. So these artists are very much appreciated, and they can help your effort in creating better relations and better understandings between different governments, different people.
What can you say about the role of art festivals, exhibitions, and artistic activities in promoting intercultural dialogue?
Well, art festivals certainly can help the promotion of the dialogues as far as culture is concerned. It's important because art festivals normally have a precise time on which they are organized. So a lot of people know in advance when certain events will happen, and they are ready to go to take part in these festivals. And for instance, this is not exactly an art festival, but as I consider cuisine as a part of Italian culture, for instance, Italian cuisine. We have a week which is always on the same date, a week of the Italian cuisine in the world, which we present to other peoples, to other countries, and they are always on the same period. And this is important. It's important because a lot of people are expecting that event, and they are ready to take part in a good mood to that. But this is true not only for cuisine, also for other kind of events, of course.
During the time that you've been Italian ambassador to Ankara, what initiatives or projects have you supported to help Italian audiences or Italian residents in Turkey to better understand Turkish culture?
Well, certainly the cultural activity of Italy in Turkey, from the embassy or through the Italian cultural institutes, were mainly directed to improve the knowledge of Italy to the Turkish public. But of course, we took also into consideration the Italian communities in Turkey. In Turkey, we have about 4,000 Italian residents in Istanbul, about 2,500 in Izmir, and a few hundreds in Gaziantep, Ankara, other part of Turkey. It's not a big community altogether, but it is an important community because it's an old community established long ago, very well integrated into the Turkish society. And our activities were followed by the Italian residents very much. I remember especially in Istanbul, when we organized something in the cultural field, a lot of Italian residents took part to our activities, and sometimes some of them, through their organizations, they promoted other activities together with the embassy. And other activities directed to the Turkish public in general, but also to the Italian communities. So it was a working integration between the two
And
things.
how did you collaborate with Turkish cultural institutions or diplomatic missions to promote Italian culture in Turkey?
But we cooperated very much. I was very often in touch with the Turkish ministers of culture during my period. I remember that after a few days I arrived to Ankara. I visited the Monumentum Anciranum, it was the Temple of Augustus in Ankara, which was in a bad condition. I was surprised because the Temple of Augustus in Ankara is extremely important. You have only two places in the world where you have written the last will of Emperor Augustus in Latin and Greek in the walls. One is in Rome, and the other one is in Ankara. But the one in Ankara was neglected, abandoned. Nobody there. So I phoned the Minister of Culture of that time, and I told him why the situation is like that. The following day, I took his daughter, who spoke Italian very well, by the way. I took the daughter to see this temple because she never saw it. And I told him, tonight when you have a dinner with your father, tell him, insist to him that you cannot, this is a great thing. It's a place where a lot of tourists can come, etc. Tell him that you have to restore it. Well, he did. I did. And so this was just an important example of cooperation. Now the Temple of Augustus in Ankara is in good conditions. But it was very bad at the time. So you can work together in many fields. For instance, another sector in which we worked together with the Turkish authorities a lot was in the Italian archaeological missions in Turkey. We had, at that time I was there, with more than 20 Italian archaeological missions. One very big was, for instance, near Pamukkale, but everywhere in Turkey. And the cooperation was very strict and successful, and still is going on. And this is another another example of very good cooperation between our two countries, and so on.
Compared to the past, what changes have you observed in the policies applied in cultural diplomacy today, especially in between Italy and Turkey?
Well, in general, we are giving more importance now to the cultural diplomacy than before, and I'm very, very happy for that. For instance, in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, they have introduced a department for public diplomacy. Public diplomacy in the ministerial slang means cultural diplomacy, which was not before. No, now there is a Director General for Cultural Diplomacy in our ministry, and a great impulse was given to the cultural institutes. We have more than 100 cultural institutes in the world. So everybody now realizes more than before the importance of cultural diplomacy. Unfortunately, after I left Ankara, 1 year after I left Ankara as ambassador, it was closed, the Italian Cultural Institute in Ankara. And all the responsibility for our cultural activity was given to the institute in Istanbul. It was a mistake. I hope that they will recreate that. But in any case, now there is still a lot of activities in Ankara, for instance, thanks to the Department of Italian at Ankara University. I still have a cooperation with, I got also an honorary degree from Ankara University, and I still have a cooperation with Ankara University in the, as far as now I'm still interested in Turkey, even if I left the active service. And because cultural diplomacy is recognized as one of the most, if not the most important instrument of diplomacy.
How influential is public opinion in Turkey in shaping Italy's cultural diplomacy initiatives?
Well, no, as I said before, the support of public diplomacy, or public, of the public is very important for cultural diplomacy. I found that the Turkish public opinion is very receptive of Italian culture. What is Italian in Turkey is normally is much appreciated. There is a lot of sympathy between the two countries, and still now, whenever I go to Turkey, I see that they are always very happy if some event from Italy can be recreated in Turkey. So I always insist with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to make as much as possible for Turkey in this field.
Have you encountered cultural or logistical challenges while carrying out projects with Turkish counterparts, and how did you overcome these challenges?
Altogether, I found it quite easy to work with the Turks in all fields. I had really no problems, and in the field of cultural activities, it was easy as well. Every time I tried to suggest something to do together, the reception was very good at every level, including the Turkish authorities, and so no, it was easy and not difficult really for me.
I'm very happy to hear that because Mr. Salvatore, the present Italian cultural attaché to Turkey, said the same thing, that he had no problems with Turkish counterparts. Okay, so do you believe cultural diplomacy efforts contribute to overall Turkey-Italy relations?
Yes, it does. Does very much. And I think we have to increase as much as possible both our cultural presence in Turkey and the cultural presence of Turkey in Italy. This is very important too, because what I realized is that Italy is in Turkey, there is altogether a good knowledge of Italy. But the opposite is not completely true, in the sense that in Italy, they don't know very much about Turkey, and there are some kind of prejudice of stereotypes originated in centuries ago, which still persist. And so this is it's important that to work also in this in the field of cultural diplomacy in Italy, because we all together, Turks and Italians, have to change this kind of mentality. I mean, you have to correct the false ideas that some people in the press, some people in the public opinion, some people in Italy, for instance, has about Turkey, because they are not true. I always repeated when I was ambassador, but still now, that because normally there is not a good publicity of Turkey, not only in Italy, in the world. This is a matter of fact. But I always repeat that if you go to Turkey as a tourist for 48 hours, in 48 hours you change your ideas about Turkey. You need 48 hours, not more. And you understand that Turkey is very different from what you had in mind. So we have to make this kind of efforts for common interest.
How do you think digital platforms and online art communities are transforming traditional cultural diplomacy efforts?
But they are transforming, as a matter of fact, because the digital social media, digital, etc., they are transforming everything. So we have to accept this because it's a matter of fact. And we have to change, to adjust ourselves a little bit to these new channels of communication. Not too much, because still the traditional system of public diplomacy, of cultural diplomacy, is still valid. I mean, but of course, you have also to make more publicity through the social media. This is important.
Can you share specific examples where online art collectives or platforms have successfully fostered intercultural dialogue? Can be also the site of, for example, from the Italian Cultural Center in Istanbul. They gave us information about their own platform, their internet site and YouTube channel. Can be also related to the embassy to Ankara, however you like. Yes,
this is absolutely necessary for the embassies, for an embassy, for a cultural institute, for a chamber of commerce or what else, to create
A platform.
and on this platform to introduce as many elements as possible about your activity, what's going on, what you are doing, etc. So I'm sure that they are doing that. When I was ambassador to Turkey, it was not so important. It was less important because in the last 3, 4, 5 years, everything has accelerated. So now it's much more important than before. I still don't know how many people really go to see a site of something on this platform. But in any case, you have to increase the instrument of your activity through the social media. This is for sure.
What practical strategies would you recommend for integrating digital tools such as social media or virtual reality, which is also used here in almost everywhere in Europe, especially in touristic spots, like you relive history in that historical place through 3D glasses or things like that, into cultural diplomacy initiatives. So can we transfer this, apply this to cultural diplomacy initiatives using digital tools?
We can, and for sure, we must be very concerned with this also artificial intelligence and other kind of publicizing cultural activity and the culture, for instance, as you said, touristic spots, etc. This is a way that you have to follow, but I always insist on the fact that there should be compatibility between these new systems and the old system of cultural and public diplomacy. You cannot really devote 100% to these new techniques. Because if you lose the other kind of the other system, you lose really a lot, and you will be not able to make everything understood to the people. So you have to be careful, both, but still the prevalence of the old system is important.
What types of data do you find most reliable and effective in evaluating the impact of cultural diplomacy initiatives?
Data in the sense of which...
how can we measure its effects? Is there such a system that we can measure the effects of the cultural diplomacy that is used?
Well, you can measure the effect through you can measure the effects through various systems. Now, with the digital system, it is a matter of likes or this kind of appreciation. In the traditional system, it depends on the results that you got in the press, in the TV, to other systems. So there are several ways of comparing the data now, and But I mean, it's now, especially on the social platform, is a problem of how many likes you get, etc. Apparently, if you have so many like, it means that what you express was a success, which does not mean that it was a good thing. It was a success, but success and a good activity not always they combine.
But as a diplomat, do you have such a system, a computer program, an enquête, I don't know, a survey, a survey, or any other applications that you use to measure the effects of cultural diplomacy?
I did not have, when I was in Basel, I didn't really, I did not have, because I mean, there was other more simple systems to understand if something was appreciated or not. But now, yes, they have, in the sense that there are enquetes, there are surveys, from time to time, they are done in order to understand if something was appreciated or not. But it's something more new in diplomacy. Diplomacy normally was not used to have surveys, etc. This is something more for the press, for the politicians, to know how popular they are, etc. But for a diplomat, it's not so important, really.
Thank you for your contribution
and
the information you shared. It meant a lot for us.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to host you here.
So today, Carlo Marsili answered our questions for the impacts of soft power and cultural diplomacy. Thank you for watching us. See you soon.